So if you do feel like you're the sort of person who's going to say or do something stupid, again, I hope you have enough training to carry a firearm, but beyond that, then maybe that's an argument for hanging up the phone at that point and waiting for the police to arrive. But I think for those of us who can remain in at least some semblance of control, and we're not going to be spilling our guts with the details, if it's me, I'm putting the phone down, I'm leaving the open recording line going, so God forbid, in case something else happens, I now have a witness to the whole thing. Because rest assured, the bad guys are going to say that you robbed them or there was some sort of mistake. Because I've seen it happen time and time again in real life, okay? Real life here, okay? Not I read about it somewhere. Real life. I've seen this, all right? It's very real. But at the end of the day, I want to do everything possible to make sure that there's no divided attention and all that kind of stuff. What are the top 4 must-knows to keep you out of prison? My name's Tom Breed. I'm a former state prosecutor, criminal defense attorney. I'm going to be answering this question, which I always see come up, and I hope to cover it now in one great video. Let's get into it. But guys, before I get into that, please help our channel grow and show your support for the Second Amendment at the same time by clicking subscribe, which of course will allow you to see all sorts of future content coming out for free, as well as like, which helps other folks see this channel. So guys, please take a moment to do that if you've not already done so. I know that almost 90% of you who watch our videos actually are not subscribers. So please, again, thank you very much. And with that, on with the show. So what are the top 4 must-know points to keep you out of prison when you're talking to a 911 operator after defensive gun use? Number 1, I want you to understand the scene is likely still dangerous. Bad guys travel in paths. So I want you to imagine that you're walking through a parking lot, you're trying to get in your car and someone tries to jump you. Maybe you're walking down the street, someone tries to jump you. Just because you had to use your firearm, and I don't care if you didn't pull the trigger once, the bad guys get away, or whether or not you actually shot and you've got a bad guy on the ground, don't assume for a second the scene is necessarily safe, okay? So you need to make sure that before you pull out your phone, before you tie up one of your hands, before you start looking down the dial and develop that tunnel vision, even worse, that you're not putting yourself in any unnecessary danger. Number 2, be careful what you say. The 911 operators are understandably trained to keep you talking, keep you on the line, and get those as many details as possible. These are, of course, recorded calls, so I do not want to see people going into exquisite detail with them. And I'm fine with kind of big picture things, we'll get to that in a moment, but I definitely do not want you getting into little picture granular stuff of, yeah, I shot 4 times, or all those kind of details, all right? Because frankly, there's a really good chance that you're gonna get those wrong, not because you're some sort of bad person or you're trying to mislead or lie to the cops, but because frankly, you were probably just in the most single stressful situation of your entire life. There's more neuroanatomical issues going on as far as all the stress, all the chemicals that your body's released, as far as flight or fight reflex, all that kind of stuff. I think reasonable minds can differ here, but I prefer to keep an open recording as a line of evidence. That doesn't mean that I'm necessarily actually talking to them, but at the end of the day, keep in mind, this is an open line to your prosecutor, your judge, your jury, your in-laws, your employer, your employees, your friends, and everybody else is gonna be listening to what happens here. But also, we need to balance that with the fact that we don't want to be going into lots of details, and we also don't know if we have a safe scene. But I don't really see a point to hanging up that phone, provided you're not the sort of person who's going to be saying something that's just out of control and excited and blinded by your emotions. Hopefully you're not that person, because keep in mind, those excited utterances and all that kind of stuff, that's stuff that will be played against you at your jury trials. But I think for those of us who can remain in at least some semblance of control, and we're not going to be spilling our guts with the details, if it's me, I'm putting the phone down, I'm leaving the open recording line going, so God forbid, in case something else happens, I now have a witness to the whole thing. Because rest assured, the bad guys are going to say that you robbed them or there was some sort of mistake, because I've seen it happen time and time again in real life. Okay? Yes, I don't see any problem with that. It's okay to say that you shot in self-defense. I know a lot of folks out there say never admit to shooting, but guys, it's going to be emphatically clear what happened when officers show up and they find your brass on the ground. And do not go ahead and disturb evidence and all that other kind of stuff as well, all right? So since it's going to be inevitably discovered what happened here, I don't have a problem with folks saying, look, I shot to stop the threat, or I was in fear for my life, or something like that. But the bottom line is, I see this question come up over and over and over again of, Should I acknowledge that I shot my firearm? Yes, I don't see any problem with that. But again, don't go into all those details about how many times you shot, where you were shooting, how you're holding your gun. Just there's no reason to go into that level of detail here. Keep yourself out of prison, avoid the details. But again, to answer that all too common question, I don't have a problem with you acknowledging the fact that you shot your firearm to stop an active threat. So guys, that's my real world 4 points of what you must know when you're dealing with the 911 operator after defensive gun use. If you haven't already seen it, check out our video linked in the description box below, talking about winning the race to 911 and how important that can be, and frankly, pivotal to your entire case.